Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. We're back. Or I'm
You're back. Oh, good.
Iro is back.
Don't worry. Back. I left it all exactly as you left it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Last episode was the cliffhanger where there was the explosion on the bridge of the ship, and we all thought the captain and the first mate were dead. And G, as the next ranking officer, he stepped in and bravely.
Just ignore the stains on the walls. Those were there before you left.
Yes, of course. But yeah, we're back. Thank you for covering, and thanks to G and Aqua. No, you're G, Aqua, and Zig, who are not on the podcast this time. But yes, you guys did a great job. But yeah, we are here to talk about some more new shows that came out for the fall season, because what do seasons mean anymore?
Just don't stop.
And some of the catching up as we're kind of hitting the episodes 3 and 4 of some of the other shows that we've been watching. And it's a pretty packed season. There's a lot to watch.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. We'll get into individually how good I think any of these shows are, but there's a lot to watch. So before we get into it, though, just to introduce everybody, I am Jel. We're joined by Iro.
I'm not dead yet.
Nope.
Even after missing the last one.
We're both not dead yet. We're here. So and G.
What's good, everybody?
And we are joined by Artemis.
It is good to be here. I'm ready to dunk on everyone's faves. Let's go.
Yes, that is what we do here at the GLORIO Chat. So let's get into it. Yeah, a lot of shows. Like I said, more new things that aired since last episode. So we'll kick things off by talking about the return of Bleach.
Yeah, it's sure back, Chief.
Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War.
Oh my god.
Boo.
Boo. Fuck this.
So I know you guys were not necessarily looking forward to this because it's the final stretch of Bleach, and apparently that's bad.
As I wrote in the first look, like, this, it's good that this happened because Bleach deserved to finish its run if Naruto and One Piece can still keep trucking to this day, but also the final arc of Bleach sucks. So,
yeah.
Little column A, little column B. It looks pretty good, but like the final arc of Bleach is not very good.
Yeah, isn't this like
music?
It's all right. It's good.
Okay, well that's good.
Isn't this a Disney Plus thing, which is funny to me?
Hulu and Disney Plus.
Disney Plus's Tite Kubo's Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War.
It's very funny to me, but yeah.
Wasn't it like going to originally be on Crunchyroll though, and then it just kind of
I could see that. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, because they usually get the big.
I mean, Crunchyroll's like big break many years ago was getting Naruto and Bleach weekly, right? Naruto and Bleach. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's Bleach. They got as much of the cast back as they could, to the point where it caused problems for productions of other shows.
Well, I mean, at least they're making it nice.
Sure.
Like, it's nicely made.
Yeah, I just don't think the content of the story is very good.
Okay.
Does Bleach deserve... I mean, yes, I guess that's the real question is, does Bleach deserve to be treated this nicely?
Sure. Why not? Who cares,
Really?
dude?
Okay.
No, it just deserved to, like, have its mediocre week to week with bursts of good looking, continue until it finished, right? Is what actually
But Iro,
deserved.
did it really? Does Bleach actually deserve our grace, our forgiveness?
Us, no.
Yes.
But, like, it,
Give it its closure.
Right.
We can get it over with, but.
Fine, I guess. It's just that one of the things that always brought me joy on many a cold winter night was just thinking to myself, man, I hope Tite Kubo is seething in hell that Bleach never finished.
But tell us how you really feel.
Well,
Oh my goodness.
It sounds like it's exactly what you were expecting at this point.
Pretty much. Right? I was there. I read the manga like during this whole arc. It's not good, if you ask me.
Are you gonna watch all of it?
No.
Okay. All right.
Was the arc never good, or did it just age really badly?
No, it was never good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, if anything, it's like Artemis. The thing we've sort of maybe gotten into in previous podcasts is if anything, Bleach has seen a weird like second reappraisal in the last few years.
Yeah, I've noticed that online quite a bit.
Yeah, but like, believe me,
X-Files. It's just really underrated.
God. But like, believe me, at the time, the final arc of Bleach was widely hated. Don't let any of these like revisionists tell you otherwise. People hated the ending of Bleach at the time.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen, people have still been coming out and saying the ending sucks. So I haven't seen too many revisionists yet for this one, but I guess be forewarned. Yeah. It is what we said it was.
To be clear, like Bleach is like a long-running shonen manga, battle manga, has a wide cast of side characters whom the readers have latched onto because they don't like the main characters, and then all of these side characters get to do their things, unleash their true powers, activate their secret techniques that have been hidden and hinted at, and they all just keep losing over and over.
It's bad booking, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the final arc of Bleach.
Kitaka
didn't even get to use his fucking Bankai. He gets to give up his life in a shitty Deus Ex Machina. That doesn't work!
Let's just spoil it all. Yeah. Anyway.
That's Bleach.
All right. Well,
tell us about this next hard hitter here, Joe.
Speaking of burning in hell, the only reason I put this on, and we're talking about more than a married couple but not lovers, is I think it's actually quite popular, or was going into the anime.
Wait, we're talking about Spy Family.
Yes. Also known as Spy Family, more than a married couple but not lovers. Yes. I absolutely hated this. My verdict that I wrote on my post was somewhere in hell Shinzo Abe's ghost is smiling. The premise of the show is, I guess it's supposed to be a romantic comedy, but they do this thing where in high school they have this I forget what they call it, but it's a thing where they pair up a boy and a girl and they have to live like a married couple for a month or something, or it might even be longer than that.
So in my high school, not every teacher did this, but one noted teacher did this, which was during like Shakespeare study. They paired off the boys and girls to practice courtly love.
Oh God, yeah, no, I totally had to do that.
Wait, is this a thing in American schools?
We definitely did not. I definitely did not do that in school.
Okay, so it wasn't quite, but that is maybe not quite as twisted as how Iro is describing, but there was definitely a thing of like, okay, we're going to be, it's the Shakespeare semester of English class or whatever, and we're all going to learn this. We're all going to learn how to like recite and like read like Shakespearean like prose. And since a lot of Shakespearean prose is like is courtship between a man and a woman, clearly the most sensible thing to do is to split everybody up and to do the lines, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, this was more than that. This was straight up like people paired off, and over the course of like 2 months, they must go through the motions of courtly love.
Okay, that's insane.
Jesus. No, yeah, okay. No. I had a Shakespeare thing at school, but it would Jesus
That's like the premise of a. Well, it's like the premise of a bad like harem anime.
Of a bad anime? Whoa!
So I think this is kind of a spin-off of like you see sometimes in like old like sitcoms or teen shows or something where they'll have like a home ec class and they have to like take care of an egg or something.
Yeah, I love that episode of Batman Beyond.
Yeah, those kinds of things. But this is like taken to an extreme where they have to like live together, and they're all hooked up with like heart monitors to see when they go.
How much they go donkey donkey.
Wait. Is it just this high school, or are all high schools in Japan doing this in the show?
They don't specify. I get the impression that it's all high schools in Japan at this point. So
we have to
they're
increase the Doki Doki meter by
yes, they're
35% this quarter.
They're hooked up to heart monitors, and they get a score based on how often they go Doki Doki.
Oh my goodness. Just don't do aerobic exercise. Like,
Right, I was going to say, just go for a jog. Like, I don't know.
And so the main guy, of course, is the, loser otaku guy. And
Whoa.
he's hoping to get paired up with his sweet and innocent childhood friend. And of course he doesn't.
Shiori
he gets paired up with the loud, brash gal type girl who is always making fun of him, and she's mad because she wanted to get paired up with the some other hot guy, and of course the partners get all reversed, and God, it's awful.
Jel, I can't do this. I can't keep a straight face.
The whole thing is like,
it sounds so bad.
The whole thing is like, nobody questions any of this or anything, because it's very obvious the message of the show is like the only path to happiness is marital bliss between a man and a woman, and that is your only that is your sole purpose in life, is to meet your soulmate and reproduce, and thus my verdict.
I was like waiting for that connection. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And I get it now. Thank you.
That's the whole purpose. So they could retitle this Shinzo Abe's Revenge.
Go get the soda popper.
Back from the grave. So yeah, I hated it. I guess the point is, the partners got switched, but maybe he's really going to be in love with the girl he got partnered with, or whatever.
Wow. Maybe they'll slowly learn to love each other for who they are.
Yeah, whatever.
Should we just move on to the next anime about an arranged marriage?
Yes,
please. So I don't like. I feel like I'm actively dying the more I hear Jel describe this show.
I don't need to say it. I just wanted to put it out there because it had some buzz from I guess certain crowds, and I'm just going to tell you that the show sucks. So,
all right,
moving on.
Let's
talk about the return of Urusei Yatsura.
If we must.
It remake. Sure is that.
So I watched the first episode of it.
Yep. Same here.
We did, yeah.
It was a lot.
That's just how they made things back then, I guess.
Yeah, I will
that's
say,
just how characters were written back in the day.
I will say, I did love the production of it. It looked fantastic. Sure. David Production, they are the masters of remaking things from the 80s and 90s, I guess.
Hear me out, though. It's like, I'm like, wow, it looks great, asterisk, footnote to asterisk. I'd rather watch the 80s one. Like,
yeah, I guess it is.
I think that's
like, what are they
the
bringing to the table here, right? Like,
yeah.
They're not really doing anything that different, other than it looks maybe a little more like modernish.
Other than, like, people our age were not alive. Or some of us were not alive during...
Well, I was alive.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the core issue with this, right? It's like, obviously, here's the thing, right? Like, if you are remaking, like, what is considered an iconic seminal work of Japanese manga, you can't... it's a little bit like JoJo, where you kind of have to stick fairly close to the source material. Like, it's totally understandable that, like, okay, yeah, like... people like these properties because of what they are, so we kind of have to stick to that. But I think the issue with Urusei Yatsura, at least compared to JoJo anyway, is like, it's just like the game has changed since the days of Urusei Yatsura, like the harem game has fundamentally changed, the rules have changed, like,
yeah.
And so to kind of return back to the, like, age-old, like, will they, won't they,
no, he sawed the boobs, or he looked at a girl, and then they say, oh, baka, and slap him across the room, and...
Right, it's like...
I just found it
just doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, not only that, but I just found, like, the pace exhausting, too. Like, it was just non-stop people yelling...
I assume I don't know how many seasons this is going to have, but I assume it's in an effort to speed it up a little, because the 80s anime was nearly 200 episodes.
Right, yeah, that's
Right.
just shit you could keep running forever. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they're trying to trim that down. So it's a lot. It was a lot to take in. I'll admit I kind of just enjoyed as the visual spectacle of the first episode, but I have no desire to watch more of this.
I mean, it's a shout outs to the OP. It's
company's good.
Yeah,
it's a really nice. It's a really slick bit of
it is a for better or worse sort of foundational work. It's just that we don't need to, I guess, relive it at this point. But yeah.
I don't know if anyone needs to. I'm trying to.
Right, exactly.
I'm trying to, who is the target audience for this? Who are the main people watching this in Japan? Because all I have is a vision of my head of, Master Roshi type of dude going,
yeah,
print bikini, kind of,
Grabbed her bikini top.
Back in my day, kind of, that audience. And I don't know who, anyone interested in
people who listen
historical
to Vaporwave
significance, I guess.
have seen Lum.
I mean, I think the thing is, I have an immense amount of respect for Rumiko Takahashi. Again, it's like what we were talking about a few podcasts ago. She may be one of the only mangaka in existence with a 1.0 batting record, but it's a 1.0 batting record in the sense that every single one of her manga is a huge commercial hit.
Right,
but I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, commercial success and quality or not.
Yeah, I'm not arguing the historical significance of her or her work. I'm just arguing that the show does not need to be here.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is seminal work, iconic work, but
do we need this in 2022?
Yes, it had its moment. Yep, we don't need to. This isn't really necessary. So, all right.
Well, I don't know if you did this by coincidence, Jel, but there is a thematic link between between Urusei Yatsura and the next anime on the list here.
I did not do this intentionally. But what is your transition here?
The OP sequence of both anime was handled by the same guy, and that guy is the Jujutsu Kaisen / Ranking of Kings opening guy.
Yes.
Right, Shingo Yamashita.
Yes.
So we're talking about Chainsaw Man, which finally that came out several weeks later.
The most anticipated anime of all time.
Yeah, the most anticipated anime of all time, and I like it. I would say I like it. I guess I'll start because you guys have already been. You're already familiar with the material from the manga.
I think I'm the only manga reader currently on the podcast.
Okay, so G, yeah, isn't Aqua also reading it or?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, from my perspective, I find it interesting because, I've obviously never read the manga. I don't even know if I've seen an actual page from the manga. I have no connection to that other than the little bit that you guys have told me. And even when I'm watching this, I feel like something's off with the adaptation. It's very, it's very good and cinematic, but
it's very well made.
It feels like they're maybe taking it too seriously. the presentation.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a show about a guy that turns into chainsaws, and
yes.
we're got these very dramatic cinematography, and even the music that they select sometimes is very sentimental and stuff, and it doesn't feel like it matches. And I do get, there's more to it than he's just a guy with chainsaws, but I don't know. It doesn't feel that serious though. I don't know. It feels a little off to me.
So the thing that I sort of got at in my first look post, and I think I think it will. I think at this point, Chainsaw Man is still in a bit of a proving grounds situation because, like a lot of, Weekly Shonen Jump manga, there is a point where Chainsaw Man finds its stride, and we have not quite reached that yet.
Okay.
There is, as you might suspect with a lot of these sorts of manga, it is once you introduce the main cast, the wider cast of the story, that it really starts to find its groove. But even then, I would agree that in some regards, it's clear that MAPPA has a ton of respect for Chainsaw Man and has really endeavored to luxuriously adapt it to animation. And the thing I sort of arrive at is maybe that like deific worship at the altar of Chainsaw Man is in some regards potentially a detriment to being a more like tonally appropriate adaptation of the source material. Because the thing about Chainsaw Man is that, and this is the thing I think a lot of Chainsaw Man fans will probably feel kind of like I do, where it's like we're not mad, we're not disappointed, we don't feel betrayed, because Chainsaw Man does have moments like what is being portrayed in the anime. Like, the thing that I think won so many people over with Chainsaw Man is that, like, on one hand, it is a black comedy, schlocky gore fest about people who are, like, awful to each other in increasingly comical ways, but it is the rare manga that is equally as capable at being like an introspective, like thoughtful character piece at times. And the manga's ability to effortlessly balance those two like traits, what is like one of Chainsaw Man's like greatest strengths.
Right.
But where I feel like it's getting a little weird with the anime is like that stuff comes later.
Right.
Like the introspective stuff kind of comes later.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to dig that up immediately now, right?
In some regards, it almost feels like what MAPPA has done is that they are adapting all of Chainsaw Man with the reputation it earned by the completion of its first part.
Right.
But they are now adapting that tone to the whole work. When like the thing about Chainsaw Man in the manga is it is sort of this like gradual slide from like, a dude who turns into chainsaws into sort of an internal look at like the human desire to be seen and acknowledged by another. And it's like, that shit doesn't come till like chapter 40 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's...
I mean, when you got like Denji walking around in episode 2 just saying boobs, 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 like, and it's all like still kind of serious, and I'm like, I don't, something's not quite lining up here yet. But
yeah, it's a thing of like the thing I was talking about elsewhere is like they're not quite the same, but I would say Chainsaw Man's closest like genetic relative is probably Dorohedoro, and MAPPA did Dorohedoro. In fact, they really nailed Dorohedoro.
Yeah.
Which is a similar story of like shitheads being shitty to each other in increasingly violent ways. And it is a bit of a shame that MAPPA could not maybe take some more of that spirit and apply it to the anime.
That's one, at this point, I have also read the manga and watched the anime, and yes, I think they got the tone great with that one, where it was sort of appropriately irreverent, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it still feels like it's taking itself very seriously.
I mean, Denji still kicks that dude in the nuts like 6 times.
That was quite funny. Iro and Artemis, you both watched this, right? Or at least one episode of it?
Yeah. I haven't read the manga either, so I'm just going purely off the anime, which I purposefully didn't look up too much before I watched it. So,
how did you?
I liked it. I was worried, because there were a lot of weird comparisons between it and Attack on Titan. and I hate Attack on Titan. So
that's really, I gotta be honest, I don't know who you're talking to that's comparing those two, but that's wild.
Just some random articles, like, but no one in particular, just, you know.
Is that like a Boss Baby situation where the only other anime they've watched is Attack on Titan?
Well, there are two similarities I can think of that could possibly relate between the two. One is that it's MAPPA, like, okay, sure. And the other is that they're both very, you know, gory and violent and explicitly on-screen, brains flying every which way, etc. Which is fine. But, like, in every other way, I cannot think of a worse comparison.
Yeah.
No,
that's
ridiculous.
Because even though I do agree that that Chainsaw Man doesn't maybe take itself quite as comedically as it should or quite as reverently as it should yet, it at least has enough self-awareness to draw me in, enough kind of tongue-in-cheek, Tarantino-esque black comedy tone to keep me invested. Whereas Attack on Titan is so self-serious and so, like, up its own ass.
Oh, totally. I mean, I guess the thing I want to make clear, you know, when we're talking about Chainsaw Man, right? I mean, look, someone's probably going to, like, take, like, a clip of this and then, like, post it somewhere and be like, these guys hate Chainsaw Man. Like, that's not the case. In fact, I am totally enjoying the anime because, like, when I'm talking about, like, its weird tonal dissonance, I'll admit, I am bringing a lot of baggage from me being a manga reader. But taken on its own, I do think the Chainsaw Man anime does have plenty of, like, good self-deprecating, like, self-awareness, right? Like, you think about, like, every time Denji is, like, just blatantly, transparently acting in his own self-interest to impress Makima, you know, like, all the stuff once power gets introduced. Like, I definitely think that, like, yes, compared to something like Attack on Titan, for example, which is, like, as, you know, as grimly self-serious as you can get, like...
Edgelord, grimdark.
Right, Chainsaw Man has enough self-awareness, it has enough of a sense of humor to not fall into the same trap.
We still have bits with, like, Denji putting every type of jam on his bread, and, you know, it's like,
but I liked it. It's a solid 7 for me so far. So
and again, I also like it. I am enjoying it, and I can see all the stuff you're talking about. G is there, so, you know, I think I hope it settles into a groove once we get all the cast. In episode 2, we meet a lot more characters that, you know, obviously are going to have a lot more screen time and everything. So
I think once we see all the characters come together and interact a little bit more, like the dynamics there, I think I feel optimistic about the series.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
I did want to mention the one bit I saw where apparently Mappa scrubbed out Denji talking about unions.
Yeah, the censorship in my anime.
Yeah.
The real censorship.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I forget where I saw it, whether it was on Twitter or something.
I think it was on Twitter's where I saw getting spread around.
Originally that's where I saw that, but I saw somebody arguing, you know, one of those type of assholes that's like, oh, well, can you translate exactly what it said? Did it really say union? And they were trying to argue that the katakana didn't actually say union, because if you read it phonetic, because it does say union in katakana, which is the type of characters usually used to spell English words, right?
Yes.
Right.
So but it's always a phonetic pronunciation. So if you literally take the characters,
he is saying it in a sing-songy way, right?
Yes. So he was saying it actually says, you know, whatever the katakana phonetically is. It doesn't actually say union, and everyone's like, shut
it
up,
says
asshole.
it doesn't say union. It says like Bunion or something.
Yeah. Right. And you clearly have no idea what you're talking about. Shut up.
Turn this M upside down. It's the Wombo button.
No, but that was like, I mean, you know, we're kind of joking about it, but Mappa's reputation.
I was gonna say too, given how beautiful this show looks, you know, there are many, many suffering people behind the scenes.
Oh
yeah, especially at a place like Mappa that, like, for better or worse, always takes on way too much work at once.
Right.
Oh,
Somewhere, somehow, there is an entire studio who is looking forward to when this is not airing anymore.
I mean, they are still working at Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 at the same time. It's kind of fucking crazy.
So that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's maybe to be expected, unfortunately.
I will say one last thing. I kind of wish the show looked more like the second ED.
Oh yeah.
Like, because this is doing a thing that was prototyped and pioneered by the legendary Ninja Slayer. They're doing a unique ED for each episode.
Right.
And
right.
Man, I really like how the second ED looks. Like, it's got a much more like kind of like scratchy, loose indie style that I think actually like maybe fits the manga's style a little bit more closely. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of a shame. And of course, one last thing. Look, this is not a look. I know the way I'm talking might imply I feel a certain way about Chainsaw Man, but let me be clear: this is not a Golden Kamui-esque tragedy. Like,
no. Yeah.
That said, I will still say you should read Chainsaw Man.
It is like the like, isn't it like the most popular manga going right now, even in America?
Internationally.
Internationally, yeah.
So not a Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer situation is what you're all saying.
I didn't want to bring that one up because I didn't want to hurt Iro
scab
here.
off. Like,
yeah, I guess my point was
sprinkle some salt in that wound for you, Iro.
I guess my point was, people are reading Chainsaw Man.
Yes. Like I have to stop pretending like Chainsaw Man is this weird underground thing.
This is not like this is not like many of the other violent manga adaptations that you've brought to the table that nobody cares about. This is actually a very popular thing. So
yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about hot off the presses here, To Your Eternity, which didn't come out until today.
Yeah.
And
how's this doing?
Artemis, you're the only one that got a chance to watch it. But
so
how did that go?
Fine.
Okay.
Like it's hard to, because I haven't read the manga. You can just assume to any listeners listening that I have not read the manga, not read the light novel, not played the game, whatever the source material is, don't know, don't care. It's fine. It's hard to tell for me if it's fine going downhill or fine going uphill. It's just kind of fine. It's one episode,
Right.
I'm assuming they're setting up whatever the next.
There's some very clear setup going on here. I'm trying to decide if my problems with this franchise have to do with the story or the storytelling.
Right.
Probably the latter, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Leading up to, 'cause I haven't watched this, and I frankly probably won't. But my problem with season one is it was kind of in both territories, but probably more so in the presentation. But even the core content, I had issues with overall, as far as like I wasn't really a fan of where they were taking the plot.
I'm not the biggest fan of the new and or returning characters, and I won't say anything more because of spoilers that they've introduced in this first episode of season 2. And I still kind of mourn the fact that the show, as far as season 1 is concerned, just didn't live up to the first episode, which was so good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can't judge a show based on one episode. Like, it's a weird situation.
Yeah, and I do feel like, so as a refresher for anybody who hasn't watched this is about an immortal character, and eventually he moves on to, living with different people, right? And I do feel like the people that he's stuck with have a lot to do with whether that arc is going to be good or not, right? So
yes, definitely.
So there's always a chance that, whether you liked the current arc or not, once they go on to the next one, you're rolling the dice again, right? So
and I feel like this particular arc, if it's going where I think it's going from the setup, then I don't necessarily care for the characters that he's stuck with.
Yeah,
but it's too early for me to make a judgment call on that. So I'll try and be kind of more impartial.
Yeah.
For now.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just, I think the only reason we're still... I mean, I know for all of you who read the manga, you enjoyed the manga a lot. But aside from that, there was like... there's so much potential for this to be great.
Right.
And I think that's why we stick with it. And that's also why we're disappointed when it doesn't meet the expectation. But
to be fair, I enjoy the anime more than I don't, if that makes sense. Like, I'm still watching. So clearly I'm not here to like shit on it.
Yeah.
But I will also point out where it does not work for me. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, yes, not to bring too much of just manga foreknowledge into this, but it was a somewhat contentious arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it worse than Prison Island or whatever?
I mean,
Well,
I'm not even sure anymore, because here's the thing. In my memories of Crime Island in the manga,
Island, yes.
were actually fairly good. I liked Crime Island when I read it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like the arc that's coming up, so...
Right.
Who knows?
I no longer know
which
how...
has a strong connection to Crime Island, so...
We'll see. Maybe.
Well, in terms of the characters, it does.
Sure. It's... Yeah, I like wonder if different pacing of experiencing the story would like greatly affect such things, because there was definitely a feeling of we've been here forever. But I guess we'll see. I think I will probably watch somewhere between 2 and 3 episodes.
Is this another My Hero situation, Iro, of we need to get to that specific moment?
Yeah, I
and
think
then
so.
Once we get that moment, like, our emotional catharsis will be complete, and we can leave?
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. Yes.
More on that one later then, I guess. Let's move along. So that's the new shows.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything still floating out there. I feel like there might be 1 or 2 shows that still haven't come up, but
the Arknights anime airs in like a week.
I can't wait till we get into that, G. That'll be next time.
We can just turn that into an impromptu Gotcha Games episode. We haven't done one of those lately.
Good.
We have some catching up to do. But yeah. Let's come back around to some of the other shows that we talked about last time that we're still watching. I guess a surprise twist, I'll say you guys are watching, because I have not actually watched Spy Family.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm in a weird place.
You can no longer be our blog overlord. Get out.
Okay, so look, I love Spy Family, but I was kind of experiencing this even toward the end of season 1, where I just don't feel super motivated to watch it. Like, I feel like I know exactly what I'm gonna get when I turn it on, which is good, but I'm also like, I don't know. It's a weird.
No, I think that's fair. I do think that's
I don't
fair
feel like I need to go watch this right now. Like
based on probably what what season 1 gave you. I mean, Spy Family is on some level. It is a sitcom, right? Like, it is. It is a story that is fundamentally built around the building blocks of these 3 familiar characters and the new hijinks they get up to this week. I mean, like, even with the second half of this anime opening up with a more plot focused arc, still wraps up fairly neatly by the end, right? Like, I mean, it does change the status quo because they get a dog,
but not so not super duper intensely, like,
right?
Yeah. So I will get back to it. It's just, when I've got 6 other shows I'm watching, and I was quite busy the past couple of weeks.
It is very much the kind of show where you sit down and watch an episode and then you go, well, that sure was an episode of Spy Family.
Yeah.
But hey, it is still Spy Family, which
I did hear they get a dog, so that's cool.
Yeah. It is still a very entertaining, sincere, and like just well-made story. Like, if you like season 1, that's season 2 is more.
Did anything anything specific happened in the what are they on episode 3 or 4 or something at this point?
Something like that.
Any highlights or particularly?
Well, it's kind of interesting because now that they've gotten. Because the dog arc is probably the closest that Spy Family at this moment, at this point of the story, has had to a climactic serialized narrative, and so that now that that's taken care of, it's almost like they feel they have the freedom to go episodic again. Like the latest episode, like I don't actually remember the order of these chapters anymore, but like the latest episode
doesn't matter, right?
But that's the thing; it almost doesn't matter, and so the latest episode of Spy Family is literally just like them just mashing together a couple of like one-off chapters from the manga into a single story, right? Like the first half is like
when like we're in the church where like the episode titles are literally like 2 or 3 different titles because those are the 2 or 3 different.
Yeah, I see the latest one is
right.
Yeah, Yours Kitchen / The Informant's Great Romance Plan.
Right. It's like we're in that part of the show where it's just like
episodic.
Here's our episodic gag. Like
and the thing is, like, you know, we don't actually have it on the list here because look, we have too many shows to talk about. We'll get around to it in another podcast, but like it's a thing we've talked about a little bit with Cyberpunk Edge Runners of like, man, I wish this show had just a little bit more time to breathe, just have these characters do stuff in this world. And so when Spy Family has episodes like this, I actually really like them because like, they don't move the story forward, you know, they're not really even like, they almost feel vestigial in some regards because they wrap up neatly by the end, but it's still just getting to spend more time with these characters, right? Getting to explore who they are, you know, as you know, and having them interact with different members of the cast in fun and entertaining ways. So
And then you always know you're going to get like that happy ending, you know, because I do like that they're hinting at some pretty dark past stuff for the characters, but I like being able to just like sit down and watch something where I know I'll be satisfied at the end and not like feeling cynical and you know what I mean? Like
even when Lloyd's like, this is just a fake family that I'll abandon when my mission is over.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go home and have dinner and hug my daughter.
Yeah, it's like, shut the fuck up, Lloyd. Like, you're never gonna abandon this family. Like,
I'm gonna pet my dog and hug my daughter.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's very it's aggressively Spy Family. Even the opening is aggressively Bump of Chicken Spy Family.
Yes,
the opening.
There's nothing more aggressively Bump of Chicken.
I think you guys already talked about that last time, so I won't rehash it. But I do agree. I kind of missed the original opening from season 1, but like I don't know if Bump of Chicken is the most appropriate Spy Family musical act to bring in, but
for the episodic stuff, it probably is.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, and you know, that's fine with it being like there are many shows I've enjoyed in that format, and I like Spy Family. It's not at the top of my priority list at the moment, I guess. So I will get back to it though. All right.
When the weather gets cold, he'll pull the blanket back out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of in a similar boat with Mob Psycho 100, which I have also not watched yet for season 3.
Okay. Understandable.
So you guys will have to kind of bring me up to date on what's going on with that.
It's good. Mob Psycho.
It's good. It is but yes, it is Mob Psycho, right? It is the continued adventures of, you know, this real good egg of a kid trying his best to navigate his middle school experiences despite having his godlike psychic powers, right? It's that. It's Reagan being a piece of shit. You know, it's it's all that shit. But it just, you know, it continues to be very well made.
That latest episode has good jokes of Bob because Bob has had a weird amount of attention from the girls lately.
Yes.
For various reasons that involve myriad things, but Bob, who has poor social skills, is like, am I popular now?
Right, yeah, so we are getting the beginning of...
It becomes Chad Mob, right?
Yes, Chad Psycho 100. Like, I don't have a screenshot on hand, but it's just that there are parts of this episode where he just suddenly transforms into a, like, Fist of the North Star looking dude with the same bowl cut. and it's very funny.
Voice actor pitches down.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess in terms of the like overarching plot, basically, you know, I talked about a bit. I talked about it a bit last podcast, right? About Mob sort of navigating what he wants to do with his future, at the same time that a cult is building around the giant broccoli that he created
in the aftermath of the end of season 2, right?
Exactly, and now that we find out is that Dimple, you know, the little Ekubo, little green piece of shit. Is planning to sort of siphon up the power of worship from these cultists.
That sounds like Dimple. Yep.
Yeah, to get into some megalomaniacal shit. You know, look, it's Dimple. We all kind of wrote him off as that like goofy like side character in season 2, but we all forgot that dude was like a fucking
it's like when it's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like when Piccolo is like, "Don't get cozy. I'm here to take over the world. Now I'm gonna go fuse with Kami to fight Cell."
Except Dimple is actually making good on his threat that he still has delusions of grandeur. So I think we're going to be getting a Mob versus Dimple psychic fight soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's you know, as always, the core of it is more about Mob, who he is as a character. You know, his struggles, his desires to be, you know, to be seen and known by the girl he has a crush on, all that stuff.
Right. So like this last episode didn't make me remember like a bit in season 2, because there's a whole like mini arc season 2 where like Mob is friends with like the Muscle Club or whatever, right? And like they're actually pretty good friends, and they're gonna go hang out. And then Reagan's like, "Oh, you know, Mob, like those people don't actually care about you or whatever." Like because Reagan has the wrong idea. Like this time, Reagan has the wrong idea, and he's, you know,
because of his adult cynicism.
Right, he's trying to like make sure Mob doesn't get hurt, and you know, then Reagan has to learn a lesson about like human connection or whatever it is, right? Or like letting Mob be his own person. But then like hearing this, where Mob's like, "Am I getting popular with the girls?" And you have all the characters being like, "No, you're not. Like, don't get your head up about this." And like Mob has the same reaction as last time of like, "No, you're just trying to get me down." When this time it is a little more like, "No, we know more about this."
Right, we don't want you to get we don't want you to hurt yourself, right? Like we don't want you to crash and burn because you got the wrong idea of like these largely, I'm going to assume, purely platonic like relationships you happen to have with a couple of girls in school.
Right.
But yeah, it's Mob, and it still looks really good. The prior episode it is the most just like bog standard Bones is here to flex of just like it's literally just a ghost of the week. Like, just here's Reagan, Mob, and the new guy they recruited at the end of season 2, just here to fight. What is it, like 99 ghosts in the Demon Lord and his 4 elite generals?
Yeah.
Like it is like they are purposely leaning into just it being the most just cliche shonen anime like premise, and of course Mob just like effortlessly obliterates these like 99 demons in some of the slickest 2D animation you've ever seen.
He's like, "Wow, those were cool looking. Well, we should use those designs for the school festival monsters on Hunt House."
Yes.
So yeah, it's Mob.
Sure sounds like I should watch the show sometime, huh?
I mean, it's a good time. It is.
Maybe this can heal our. Yeah. This is the show that might be able to heal our heart after Ranking of Kings.
Oof.
If I'm ever hard up for some anime to watch, I guess this will be at the top of my backlog.
I think you were right, Jel, and that it's sort of in a similar position. Now that we're in a season 3, it is sort of like Spy Family. It's sort of spinning its wheels.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I know exactly what I'm
doing. What
it
do, and it does it well. But also we know what we're in for, and that's fine.
So. But, yeah, and it's fine. I just it goes lower on the priority list because it's like I know I know what I'm gonna get when I watch this, right? So, okay. Yeah. Let's move on to talking about DIY, do it yourself.
Do it
yourself. I only watched the first episode of this. but I think they're up to 3 now. I enjoyed it. It was maybe a little too dry for me as far as like content, but it's very charming though. Like the art style, everything you guys said last time, I'm not going to rehash it all. I agree with all that. The art style, it looks great. The characters are fun and everything. Mm-hmm. But Artemis, you said you're still watching all of it, though, right?
I am, and it's not just because of the art style, which is great, and it kind of reminds me. Lovely. It kind of reminds me of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken a little bit, especially when Setsuko has her like imagination kind of little like like 10-second like but I also really dig this kind of setting, which is totally unspoken, but this uneasy tension between like high tech, cutting edge kind of stuff, and this warm, homey, traditional Japanese kind of feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very,
because they never say it, and that's the really good part of it. Because I assume it's set. It never says it's set in the future, right. And if it is set in the future, it's only kind of just it's like
it's
tomorrow
like near
kind of future,
near future
right?
stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if
and because
been
sorry, Karen.
Sorry, like we detective or like it's practically an open secret at this point that Mitsuo Iso of Deno Coil and Orbital Children is involved with this, which sort of explains some of the futurism stuff.
Yeah, but I most of all like the fact that it's never spelled out.
Right.
There's no like narrator. There's no like, as we all know, in the year whatever
they just
like,
have self-driving buses.
It's just kind of there, and it's just there for you to notice and make of it what you will. Probably exemplified most between Setsuko and her childhood friend Purin. I can't remember her real name. But like in the first episode, and they kind of scatter it throughout the episodes too, but especially in the first episode where they're going home and Setsuko goes into her house, and it's this very kind of cozy, kind of chaotic but very warm and friendly.
She's got her
vibe.
all full of like pets, and the pets all
like
swarm her.
Old school Japanese apartment style place, and then her friend goes in and she's living alone, and it's very kind of straight lines and clean. And this robotic octopus of some kind like greets her at the door. But they never comment on that, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
they just have confidence in the visual storytelling.
Yeah, just let the story speak for itself, which is nice.
There's another show that does the near future technology thing with no explanation that I watched called Love Flops, and that was awful.
Oh, Christ.
I did not put it on here.
Was it a flop?
Yes.
Okay.
God, that show sucked. That was worse than the other one I was talking about. But we don't want to get into that. But they did do that thing with they have near future technology for no reason. They just have it. But
I think it's here for a reason in this show, which is probably going to end up the thesis of the show, basically like. High tech, cutting edge, whatever, versus
reject modernity, embrace tradition.
The old age, try to do it yourself.
I could definitely see that even watching the first episode, because I think that's the scene. I think that was in the first episode that you're talking about, where the two girls go home and they have like the contrast between, all of that. But
it is a predictable show in other ways. Like it's if you didn't like the first episode, I don't think you'll love the rest. It's basically more of the same. It's fairly, it's predictable. It's, charming but wholesome, kind of stuff all the way through. I wouldn't expect it to be anything else.
Yeah. I did like the first episode, but it was just like, I feel like maybe in other seasons I would definitely watch it.
We have to like sift through the avalanche first, right?
It's just like it's a thing of like, I mean, I totally agree with a lot of stuff you're saying, Artemis. I do think like maybe I was a little too harsh on do it yourself like last podcast, but I think maybe some of that just comes from, I think in any other season I probably would be watching this weekly. There's just so much competing for like our time at this given moment.
Yeah, like, I get that it's not on the top of the list for probably most people. And it's not, like top tier for me either, but I like it enough that I'll probably continue for the rest of the season if assuming I have the time to do so. I think it's a nice anime, and I don't mean nice in a derogatory way, but I also don't mean it in a whoa, you guys have to watch this. It's nice.
Yeah,
sure.
Looks great.
Yeah, I'm trying to process in my brain why I really enjoyed something like, say, Super Cub, going back to that versus
Well, Super Cub had a kind of a completely different storytelling style where it was mostly silent.
Yeah, it was
the majority of episodes.
It was like even more chill, I think. But yeah.
I did like Super Cub more, but I think it was a lot to do because I don't necessarily like all that much dialogue in my anime. Like I prefer.
It was a lot more of a mood.
Yeah, it was very mood. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very moody.
It was a very mood piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
And this is very stereotypical, like, oh no, they have a club. Oh no, there's only two members. Like, oh no, they have to find more before the club shuts down. Like, I'm sure, it's nothing that people have not seen many, many times before. So I totally get if it's not everyone's jam. But it is charming enough that it got me, and good enough and like competent enough in its storytelling that I'm happy to continue for now. So
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's good.
Perhaps on the opposite end of the mood spectrum.
Yeah, an anime that has no charm, doesn't want you to watch it, hates you.
Actively hates you, and it's great. Pop Teen Epic Season 2. Okay, so...
It's back.
I will say, I think episode 4, we finally hit the wall a bit on the... We started hitting some duds. But,
is that the latest
what, you mean the latest one?
The latest one...
I don't know.
I like the latest.
The latest one hits pretty
but
hard.
Also, but also, I'm the freak out here being like, oh yeah, the Prometheus serial murder case, the seminal NES visual novel. Obscure. Wow.
Yeah. Maybe my impression of episode 4 was tainted by the final bit where they're just making those noises over the credits. But
that bit definitely does not hit. But like, it's just like. I mean, I think the thing that we continue to like appreciate about Pop Team Epic is just its unflinching like desire to just do whatever it wants, like regardless of like what conventional like practices say about like the production of anime.
I will say, episode 3, the kids show going to the farm bit was fantastic.
Right, like having the commitment to hold on the
5
scene.
seconds so the kids can say we're at the farm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or
and then it gets and then it naturally takes a super dark turn, or several
dark
turns.
I mean, in episode 4, right, where the second half, which Iro informed me of because I wasn't aware of this, what the second duo of voice actors for the second half of episode 4 are, I guess, apparently the official dub VAs for Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. Whenever they dub their voices into Japanese.
Okay.
And then that suddenly explains like why it literally ends with the Shaw Brothers the end
card,
overlay on top of it.
They added like an outtake,
a blooper
to the credits.
Reel? Yeah.
It does make the Pop Team Epic B-side funnier too. But
But I mean, that's the thing. That's always been the thing about a Pop Team Epic, right? Is it is intentionally hit or miss, right? Like some jokes are going to kill certain audiences, and other jokes are going to fall completely flat. And
they don't care because they hate you.
It's a joke. When you're telling a joke a minute, you can have some duds, as long as enough of them hit. Like,
right. When we have a second, like we hired some other studio to do a
really
super
expensive
produced segment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I assume will be a recurring thing.
Who was it that came in on episode 4?
Studio Flat, I think.
Studio Flat, which based on what we were looking up, you're the one who did the research, so you should be the one to explain.
Some people were involved with Vivi, is my understanding.
Oh, okay.
And some other
Shout out to Vivi.
some like indie movies and like commercials and stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
right. But also specifically, you mentioned that there was staff involved in this short work.
I think the director of that segment worked on Gridman.
We're talking about the train battle.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, once you hear that, this dude worked on Gridman and Dynazenon, and then you sort of like think about how those are probably the most Anno-inspired trigger works, suddenly stuff about that short, like the sequence of the doors closing, or like the screen monitors popping out in sequence. It's like, right, that is the most Evangelion Anno-ass, like, startup, like, boot-up sequence imaginable.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense now that you mention it, yeah. The train thing was cool. I guess maybe that I liked the other previous episodes better or something, but yeah.
No, totally. I mean, again, I think
yes.
Again, Pop Team Epic is a polarizing, show, right?
Yeah.
Like some episodes are going to play better than others. So
I mean, they literally have the voice actors telling you not to buy the Blu-rays.
Yes.
So.
Or they're just being honest. They're not going to buy the Blu-rays.
Yeah, they're like, well, I'm not going to buy it, but I guess you guys can buy it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
just send, tell the studio to send a copy to my agency.
Yeah. It's very good. All right. Well, that continues to be fun. Let's talk about another fun thing. How about a show also on the opposite end of the spectrum from Pop Team Epic? If Pop Team Epic has 1,000 jokes, what about a show with only one joke, but it committed super hard to that one joke? It is very committed to the joke. We're talking about Akiba Maid War. Interesting set of episodes. So we had 2 more episodes since last time. I kind of didn't. I was kind of like scared with episode 2 because it was kind of repeating episode 1.
Same. Episode 2 is the one that had me a little.
What we were all kind of saying is after episode 1 we're like, okay, are they just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again? And they kind of do that in episode 2. I was very I think my biggest moment of disappointment was like in episode 2 they do the casino episode, right? I'm like, okay, let's do this, let's get some crazy, how are we going to game the system,
kakagurui.
Gambling, high stakes gambling, right? And the final big gambling scene where they're inevitably playing poker, right? And it's one of it's like the maid idol girl. It's her episode. It's her time to shine or whatever. And you think she's going to pull off something in the card game or whatever. And she just loses. And then the solution becomes, all right, well, we have to murder everyone now. And I'm like, that was kind of disappointing. I was like, I wanted to have another solution that wasn't just shooting everyone.
Right. I am of 2 minds about it because I think that her, like, presenting like the confident anime genius only to be revealed to be a complete dipshit is actually a pretty good joke.
It is kind of funny,
that they then resolve the story the same way they resolved the end of episode 1, which is let's just shoot our way out.
And it's like an inferior version because it's not like the flashy.
Right.
It's not because the one in episode 1 is kind of amazing because it's almost like this weird gory music video, hyper violent music video thing, and this one she just shoots everybody.
But then episode 3 happens, and I think that really reignited my confidence in this show.
I feel like they expanded the scope just enough to open up more possibilities. So in episode 3 they kind of imply that all of anime otaku fandom or whatever is organized crime, basically.
Yes, it is all organized. It's organized crime all the way down.
And maid cafes are just like one element of it, but like you have other, because we've seen the guy that comes to like shake down the cafe is like the stereotypical 80s 90s otaku guy, right? With like his headband, and the backpack, and the posters sticking out of the backpack and everything, right? And in this one they bring in executives from the anime figure companies who are trying to like make fake anime figures, and then they get tied up in like this underground fight club, and it turns into Megalobox.
I was joking about it turning into Megalobox. It is actually turning into Ashita no Joe. Like,
well, I mean that's Megalobox.
But yes,
from, right? Yes. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, straight up with like the manager getting the eye patch and being drawn like an '80s character, or not even '80s, '70s character.
They've got the freeze frames with the dramatic with the the fully sketched out whatever freeze frames and everything.
But I really enjoyed that one because I think because it's spoofing a slightly different thing from just the usual crime drama, but like it's still like adjacent, right? Like to that genre of storytelling. But it is not just here's Ranko shooting her way out of all of her problems, right? Like
yes, yeah. And people still die.
I mean, yes,
people die violent deaths. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of enjoying the joke with the manager just being the worst person.
Just an absolute piece of shit.
The worst person on the planet who will degrade herself in any way to survive. But played for humor, of course. It's quite funny. But yeah, it is a different situation where it's not Ranko just shooting everybody. Instead, she punches people, but or kicks them in the face or whatever. But yeah, I think there's a little more promise. And I mean, I was kind of committed anyway because I'm like, even if they're doing the same thing, like the presentation is so much fun to me personally that like.
No, I think that's totally fair. Like I think like the strength of the presentation really, like, because sometimes. This is a thing I've talked about before when we talk about like comedy anime, or not even comedy anime, but any anime that tries to deliver a joke is like delivery is almost as, if not more important than the joke itself. And I think Akiba Maid War is a great example of, if you're really slick, if you're really smooth at telling a joke,
yeah,
it almost doesn't matter if the joke isn't that funny if you just tell it good enough.
Yeah. We might have some of that in the next show that we talk about, but yeah. So I think that all helps, at least for 3 episodes, keeping it feeling fresh so far. But we'll see. I
guess that's the thing, right?
Dragging by episode 6 or something if we're not
like
somewhere else. But yeah.
Yeah, like episode 3 is promising. The thing, though, is like I need to see them keeping that momentum forward.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think final note, I'll just say I think my my favorite bit out of all of these, the one good thing in episode 2 was when the panda bear cuts the gas line to blow up.
Yes. That was a pretty solid bit.
It just came out of nowhere. It's not really clear to me whether that's an actual panda bear or someone in a suit or what that is, but it's very funny. Yeah. So let's move along to what may secretly be the best show of the season. And at least in my opinion.
I keep being really surprised by this one.
So we're talking about Bocchi the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention, because I wasn't here last time. I almost put this on our First Look podcast because I am a sucker for band stories, and I ultimately didn't because. For one, I don't like the character designs, and I still don't. And also, when I was reading about everything, like it felt the 4-coma-ness was very strong with it. If that makes sense,
you could feel it. Yes.
And even watching it, even watching the show, you can still tell that it was based on a 4-coma. But as Aqua pointed out, it's sort of like the K-On! Effect, where they've very much expanded this out into some, they've really killed it with the adaptation on this.
Yes, they've definitely made like I can sort of still see the seams between like, oh, okay, this was a 4-coma, this was another 4-coma, but I think they've done a very good job of weaving them into a fully fledged like self-contained narrative.
Yeah, and that and some like almost Love Lab tier gag animation.
I mean, so that's the thing,
on.
right? It's like the characters themselves, I don't like how they look, but I love the way they move.
Yes.
Like, the animation in this show
very,
is
like,
just...
And to be clear, it's not like Love Live's like super clean, smooth cartoon animation. It's very like scratchy and like they go out of in and out of different styles and stuff. Like but it's
right.
But
like,
it
just
looks
like
great.
Like the art style it adopts every time Bocchi has a nervous breakdown of just like the weird like her like mushed face. Like
yes,
I don't know why it gets me every time, but it's
very funny.
Yes.
But even beyond the presentation, like it's very funny, and also like they're touching on some real stuff in there.
It's you could call it relatable for sure.
Yeah. It's very empathetic. I might even say.
Yeah,
like,
and it's not serious. Like it's still kind of played as a joke, but like there's very strong like themes of like how having social anxiety and low self-esteem kind of makes a lot of the humor is based on how that makes you make assumptions that are not correct, right? Which is what Bocchi is constantly doing every episode, is thinking everybody hates her or whatever. But not
even that everyone hates her, but like, oh, they're so cool, like they are above me, they have transcended my state of being. When in reality, everyone either is not cool or like has no interest in being cool,
Right. She doesn't think she thinks everyone's cooler than her when they're just regular people like she is, right? But
right.
Yeah. There was like in the latest episode there was the bit where she's trying to recruit the other girl as the lead singer. And she's like, the girl asks her like, oh, well, why did you learn how to play guitar? And she's like, in her head, she's thinking how she wanted to be cool in front of everybody and be popular. But she's like, I can't say that though. I'll sound like and so she's like, I want to achieve world peace or something.
Yes.
And then the other girl's like, oh, well, I just thought the bass player was hot. So like. So her assumptions were completely wrong, right?
In a lot of ways, it's actually the reason why I said empathy. I mean, it is relatable, but I think the reason why I wanted to describe Bocchi the Rock as empathetic is that because it doesn't just merely get into like damn anxiety. Am I right, guys? Yeah. But it also gets into like the ways in which like. It's not just about Bocchi. It's also about learning about like how just normal it is for people to be kind of fallible, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Like she puts Kita, the new girl, the red-haired girl, on this like pedestal of, oh, she's an extrovert. That just must mean she has all her shit together. And it's like, no, that's definitely not how it is.
Oh God. Yeah, I loved that. All the twists on her character in the latest episode of like the twist of how she actually was in the band before and all that. Like, again, just re-emphasizing that you can't make these assumptions with people. But
man, I gotta say though, like, okay, what was the name of that rock band anime with the pretty boys? Where like, what was it? Like you said, it was like some. Given. Was that the one where it was like the guy was so dumb he didn't even know what what was it again? Like
band.
He didn't know that you could replace the strings on your guitar.
Okay, is that on the same level as buying a bass instead of a guitar on accident? Because like I don't know. To me, it's like, damn, how.
I would still go with the not understanding that you can replace your strings as worse than buying.
Okay.
But
because her reasoning was that she knows that she thinks that all bass guitars have this many strings and all like non-bass guitars have this many strings and this guitar doesn't fit that.
If you know literally anything about guitars, you would see the strings are like 5 times thicker. Like,
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I would put that below the bit in Given, but it's up there. Like, or you would think maybe the person that you were buying it from would tell you, but Or maybe you would read the label that says base on it.
I could see her character, or Bocchi's character if it had happened to be her instead, but like going into a shop and just kind of panic buying.
Ah, yes.
You know what I mean? Like someone comes up to you and like, what are you looking for? This! I'll take this! You know?
Do you panic buy a guitar that probably costs at least $1,500 though?
Oh, man.
I don't know.
She said that 6-string bass was what, 2 years of
2.5
allowance
years or something.
I mean that would be like the bare minimum for a bass like that would probably be like $1,500.
I mean, this is you know what? I'll say this. I'll give them credit for at least acknowledging that the insanely expensive shit these high school girls are playing is in fact insanely expensive. I feel like so many of these other like high school girls in a club or a hobby like shows do not actually get into, hey, these hobbies are actually maybe way more expensive than your average high schooler could afford.
Well, they always have to have the rich friend, which they do have here, right? One of the girls,
yes, with
their family's rich. Yeah, you always have to have
Rio,
yeah. You know, K.O. had Mugi. Like, there's always like one girl that's gonna be rich so that they can go off to like their summer home or whatever later.
Damn, is that the real red pill about hobbies? Is that you have to know someone rich?
Yeah. Well. Yeah, you can get reasonably priced guitars, yeah, no, I just really I've enjoyed everything about this. It's like hitting a lot of the buttons I like for these types of shows. I wouldn't describe this as like my usual like terrible people type of comedy, because I wouldn't say they're terrible people, but like you said, G, they do have flaws, which is fun.
And I think all their flaws are like very relatable too, because even though Bocchi's reactions are over the top, her anxieties themselves are not over the top.
Yes.
You know,
those are very real things that we've all probably either said to ourselves or we know somebody that's thought those things.
I feel like a lot of anime, when it comes to social anxiety, they pick one character with social anxiety and that character is on the like extreme end.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, whereas Bocchi is very... She's a pretty normal person, you know,
still
like
somewhat functional despite what's going on in her
head. She can walk down the street and like,
guys, she crawled into a trash can in this episode.
in a very well animated sequence of her crawls rolling around in the trash. Yes,
but you know,
I get what you mean. I'm joking. She
functions every day. She goes to school. Like she can't speak to anyone, but she tries. She fails, but she stutters and she tries, and she can walk down the street and you know accidentally bump into an old lady and apologize for for bumping into all that kind of stuff. You know, she's capable of these things.
Yeah. It's very entertaining. I do want to briefly touch on the gear that they have because
this is what I was waiting for.
Okay, so first of all, I'm a Fender guy, so I'm not wild about the two guitars that they have. Are the Bocchi's playing a Gibson Les Paul, which is like, if you're not going to play a Fender, that's probably the next most popular guitar you could be playing.
Okay.
Also played by Yui and K.O. Just different color. And the girl that just joined, that's joining back, I think she's going to be playing a Les Paul Jr., so those are Gibsons, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I did want to point out, there's one shot with Bocchi playing at home. I would never thought I was ever going to see my guitar amp in an anime.
Oh, shit.
Because it's a very, like, specific, like, so it's a Yamaha THR2, which, if anybody wants to look that up, that plays guitar, it's a very good amp for indoor playing and practice. And I never thought I would ever see that in an anime, but she has my almost exact same amp. I noticed that they even drew the so there the front like speaker part has like a very specific pattern on it that they drew. And and I can tell, so they got it right. I can tell from that pattern that it's actually the version that does not have Bluetooth connection to it.
No,
I have one that has Bluetooth. So it's not exactly the one I have. The one I have the Bluetooth one, which has a different pattern on the front.
Of course,
but
it's the same line.
I was like, man, the attention to detail on that is amazing, and I also just was excited because I never thought I would see
so
that.
we can tell that you're not at all biased about this anime now.
Yes.
Yes, Jel's unbiased Bocchi the Rock coverage.
Well, I don't like their guitars though. So
it balances out then. It balances out back to neutral.
I don't know if that's how it works, but sure.
Yeah. So they whoever they're consulting for the gear is on top of it. So yeah, that's just a fun show. I have nothing bad to say about it really. It's I'm enjoying it. All right, let's conclude by talking about my favorite harem anime, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. Delivering the most important things in anime, which are giant robots and lesbians.
The Mercurians are here to steal our boys.
You mean giant robots and lesbians in school?
Yes.
Also, just on-screen murder. Wow, I can't believe Chutari just killed that Spacian at the end of episode 4. Holy shit!
But
all right, I'll try to keep it spoiler-free, but all right. Chutari Panlunch is the most based character in Gundam.
Who's that?
She's the one with the 2 cream puff hair,
okay.
The pink cream puff hair girl, yeah.
Yo, she is such a fucking boss.
All right,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
So, if I can just kick off, because I wasn't here last time.
Of course, by all means.
And I don't have the Gundam baggage that you guys have.
Right.
The only Gundam I've ever watched.
You could call it trauma. You could just call it trauma.
Okay. I don't have the trauma that you guys have. The only Gundam I've ever watched in its entirety is Gundam Wing, which I don't think is a very good indicator of all of Gundam, but
it's not.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
But maybe it is, yes.
And I haven't seen that since 1996, so I have no baggage bringing into this, and I'm really enjoying this one. It's an interesting story, premise, setup.
Yeah, no,
interesting themes that they're bringing up. The characters are different enough. Maybe not from Gundam archetypes, but maybe in general of what your typical school anime or whatever might be, and I think so far the pacing and the directing, everything have been great. I'm glad that they've kind of almost every episode given you one get out of your seat and cheer type of moment.
Yes,
where whether it's the girl with the giant hair punching somebody in the face or whatever. I'm really enjoying it so far.
That's awesome to hear, because again, the reason why Iro and I probably, and honestly also Zay, all of the Gundam sickos.
Yeah, I noticed you guys were all very cautious about giving your heart to this anime, and I'm like, oh, I can see the pain. I can see the pain you guys are still having.
Gundam is the best, worst bad X in the world. There is
back
no
together, and then you're like, oh wait,
there is no anime series that is better at making you feel like it sees you, like Gundam, and then leaving you out in the cold 8 episodes later, like you never even existed.
They come back and they're like, it'll be different this time, baby. I've changed.
I'm a girl now.
I'm a
girl now.
If Gundam has taught me anything at all, is that the first season will be good and the next season will be terrible. So if there's a second season, I won't watch it. Actually, I'm not watching this now. But if I was, I would stop at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But but no, I will cop at this point, 4 episodes in, or 5 if we include the prologue, as we keep doing.
Oh yes, yeah.
I really am beginning to truly, genuinely enjoy what they are doing with The Witch from Mercury, the types of stories they're trying to tell here. The thing I sort of got into last podcast about how, the dual format and the insanity of the school, actually doesn't feel that incongruous the more you think about, this was a structure specifically built by rich people to empower their rich children. to inherit their, their companies and their wealth so that they can continue to oppress the world with their increasingly arcane systems, right? Like, I feel like that especially comes to a head in episode 4, where we are, finally beginning to meet the Earthians in more earnest and begin to understand, the plight of the people of Earth versus the people of space. Right. And how the school is in and of itself a social construct that sort of represents that conflict as a whole.
Yeah, we got shots of like the protesters, right, holding up the very funny signs that are like Spacian capitalism kills people or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, like down with space capitalism.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not making like that's literally what the sign says. I'm not
it's literally what it is.
All right.
Yeah, like or like I mean, and again. Like, even for me as the wow cool robot guy as well, look, I can be both Wart is bad and wow cool robot in equal measure.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, okay, we can talk about the episode that Iro has watched. So episode 3, the second duel against Guel with his new red robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yo, that's a fucking sick fight. Like, that's
a sick
just,
robot fight.
Yeah, like, limbs are getting cut off. People are just doing wild shit. It's, But it is all still in service to the story and the characters that inhabit it. And
right.
I think in that sense, it is doing the thing that it is doing. Oh man, it's still hard for me to talk about a Gundam in this tone, but it is doing the thing that I like to see from Gundams, which is like it uses its premise, its world, and even its robots to tell an interesting story about the themes that have always been inherent to Gundam, right? Warfare, the rise of the military-industrial complex, the ways in which, social inequality drives conflict. It is doing those things, and it is doing those things in its own way. Like, this could never feel at home in the UC, but it is doing the thing that AU Gundams, like the better ones, do, which is it takes those familiar themes, it takes those familiar ideas and extrapolates them to a different world where it can experiment and play with them in different interesting ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're present, like, everything is just feels very just well balanced and presented and like paced well. The robot fights are pretty sick. I kind of like that it's not just like a duel every episode.
Yeah, I'm glad it did not just fall into that format as well.
So it's not just like, all right, we'll bring in the next,
Goon
jerk
to get like owned this week. Yeah.
And so it's not like just following a formula or whatever. It hasn't turned into Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Not quite.
Not completely. Not as much as episode 1. Like, episode 1, it was definitely there, right? And then it's like, okay, the rest of the episodes have been a little more, its own identity. But, but yeah, I just, I hope they don't blow it.
I really hope so, too.
I can definitely see we are not safe yet.
Like, no, I mean,
they're not safe till it's over.
Yes, so that is the thing about Gundam, right? Like, there are some shows out there where you watch the first 3-4 episodes, and you know in your heart, oh, this show's fine. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I don't
Spy
feel
Family is gonna be okay, right? Like, you watch the first few episodes and you know, oh, okay, they got it. They got it under control. They can guide this home. Gundam can look like it's flying smooth for like a solid 15 episodes, and then just the wings can just rip off at the last second in the most like traumatic way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, how about you, Iro? You weren't here for prior podcast, so I don't think we've gotten your.
I mean, I think you all pretty much covered it. I'm enjoying it so far. I think they've, based on what I've seen, I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop on the school stuff, right? Of like,
yes,
because I'm not necessarily opposed to school stuff. I think it's fun. I'm having a good time so far, but also like, to me, when I think of Gundam, I'm thinking of like a global scale warfare almost.
Yes.
And so it's like I'm waiting for the situation to deteriorate so heavily that...
Yeah, because they wouldn't be having a school where you learn how to fight with robots unless there was some kind of immediate conflict or something, right?
Yes.
I think they've kind of hinted at that.
Yeah.
At some point, very, 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 very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think the thing they've hinted at is that the conflicts at school are sort of a proxy extension of the conflicts that are happening between these corporations.
Right, and is that really going to break out into full-scale war at some point, right?
Right.
And, like, presumably, Suletta's presence is the spark that will light that fire 10 episodes from now. Right.
I mean, that definitely seems like that's what her mom wants.
Yeah, exactly. So.
That's another interesting question. So, if her mom is the shark clone here, is she gonna have to fight her mom?
I think
that is
by the
possible.
end of the show. Yeah.
Yes, I think because the thing I'm not sure.
As far as we can tell right now, they still have it's like a normal or what, at least on the surface,
right?
Except like
it seems clear to me, at least, that like the mom is using her Suletta as a vector to get at Delian and everyone else, right?
Right. Like, I mean, in a lot of ways, she will probably become the villain, but this has not stopped me from liking problematic women before. Yeah. But I legitimately like the vector through which she is trying to destabilize the world because,
they threw another problematic woman with a robot arm.
Gundam's got plenty of
like, the whole idea of, like, she purposely allows Suletta to enroll in the school with her Gundam because she knows it is going to upend the status quo of the Benerit group, right? Like, the implication in episode 3 is that she leaks some of the gun tech to Jeturk, Guel's family, right?
When I saw that,
when
I saw that, I was like, okay, is this whole thing like a plan to leak Gundam, the forbidden fruit of the Gundam, to all of the top corps in the group,
so they can have Gundams without having to call them Gundams?
Yeah, and then when Delian is like, no Gundams allowed because I'm a king of this capitalist society, they'll be like, fuck you.
We have Gundams now.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of love that, right? It is a devilish way to to destroy the system from within, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna see it through.
If you've enjoyed up to episode 3, you'll enjoy episode 4.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much here. I just gotta say, Jel, are we happy or are we disappointed with them finally explaining how Chitauri wears a helmet?
I think it defies the laws of physics, right?
Sure.
They got some.
It's Minovsky particles, dude.
They got some advanced, space.
The most advanced space helmet technology known to man.
The most advanced space compression technology that has ever been invented.
Just to explain, because this is an audio podcast.
Yes.
This girl has 2 giant puffs of hair that are bigger than her head. Each individual puff of hair is bigger than her head. And
think of the silhouette of Mickey Mouse. That's what she looks like.
But even the ears are even bigger. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And there's a bit with her in her they're doing like a training thing. They're in the robot. Or she gets out of the robot and she takes her helmet off, and she has like a cap or something under the helmet that's apparently holding all the hair in.
Somehow.
Somehow. So I'm pretty sure that's not physically possible. So they must have some kind of amazing technology for that. But that was pretty funny. I think the only other comment I'll say is if Suletta doesn't end up with Miorin at the end, then I will riot.
What if she ends up with a harem?
Well, that's what they're currently doing. But yeah, we'll see.
I mean, Guel is even now the tsundere one.
Oh, is he?
Well, okay. Yeah. I guess Suletta now has 2 tsundere.
She has 2 tsunderes in her harem, yes.
Yes.
So, okay.
I don't actually like you.
Yeah, she's got 2 tsunderes and then, like, the quiet dude.
Yes. And then, of course, she's going to get the Playboy one later, right?
Okay, so. Yeah. Oh, that's right. There's a Playboy guy, right? He's going to get in there.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
and
fun times.
I have seen, and anecdotally, I've seen people who don't usually watch these shows watching this show. So
I mean, anecdotally, we have one here on this podcast talking right now. So
I think Aqua's watching too, right? And he doesn't normally watch Gundams, but yeah, it's good times.
Good times.
All right, well, that's gonna do it for our list. We will touch base on these episodes again next time. Let's do our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com, where you can read all of our first looks about these shows and others. Those are, although we're kind of, I think we're now officially past first look territory. We're getting into the meat of the season, but you can go check those out. You can subscribe to the podcast on. Oh, I forgot Twitter. I took a week off, and
you're out of practice.
I've lost my routine here. Follow us on Twitter at the GLORIO blog. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher. You can check us out on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe. Tell us we're wrong. Send us sponsorship opportunities. I don't know. I'll do a Manscaped ad read if I have to. And yeah, that'll do it. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.